barred from publishing any more classified documents dealing with the Vietnam War.
If you publish, we'll be at the Supreme Court next week.
Meaning?
Well, we could all go to prison.
Hello, everyone. Back again here, and today,
yes,
Grandma has gone to see The Post, which, very interesting film.
The Washington Post.
Well, no, it's referring to The Washington Post.
Yes.
Directed by Steven Spielberg, starring Tom Hanks as the former editor of The Washington Post, Ben Bradley, and Meryl Streep as Katharine Graham, the former owner of the Washington Post. It takes place mainly back in 1971 and revolves around the publishing of the Pentagon Papers, which, again, anybody who knows the history will know. Basically, it's a bunch of sort of top secret papers having to do with the conduct of the Vietnam War through, about 20 years worth of American foreign policy.
And the people who made the decisions and.
Yes, the Nixon White House at the time, 1971, again did not want them published, and again it's a touch and go there as to whether they would be published. Again, this is all in the history books, so I'm not spoiling anything by telling you that, again, eventually it was published.
Yes.
But again, this is all the behind the scenes on how it actually happened. So, Grandma, what would you say of this film?
Oh, it was wonderful. It was gripping. I often think of Tom Hanks as the boy next door, the friendly kid. And he was wonderful in this part. He was really intense. You forgot that this was Tom Hanks.
Grandma, he hasn't been a kid in a long time. Just so you know, he's played a lot of parts between kid time and
this
now.
Was Ben Bradley, and he convinced you. The whole idea of the freedom of the press and that the public has a right to know, and that the people in power don't have the right to subvert that freedom in any way. And of course, Meryl Streep, what can you say about her? She's marvelous. The agony that she went through, the decision she had to make, which could have destroyed the Washington Post, the newspaper that she inherited when her husband died. She was in charge.
Could have destroyed her,
very, very difficult decision for her to make. She'd always been a mover and shaper in the Washington social life. Okay, social life is one thing. And all these powerful people that she knew in one role, here she was to make this very, very important decision as to whether to publish these papers, which were very revealing.
She's in a new role,
new
not
role.
Familiar with. That's part of the story, was her sort of feeling her way into this world that she was completely unfamiliar with.
And she talked to many famous people. Robert McNamara, one of them, that she had always known as in this one life. He was a friend, a social acquaintance, and very important in this situation that she found herself in. It was wonderful. It was well done. It was very well acted. Steven Spielberg knew what he was doing, and directing these marvelous actors. It made it very clear from the beginning that this was not an easy decision for almost everyone. And why they chose which, I hate to call them sides, but, which decision to make, to publish or not to publish, and what it would mean for themselves and their families. It was wonderful. Just top notch. What did you think?
I thought it was pretty good too.
Pretty good.
Again, sort of what you were what you were talking about here, you see these stories in the paper, whether it's a big story or a small story, and you don't really know what went into publishing the story in the first place. And again, I had heard of the Pentagon Papers, but again, I didn't know anything about the sort of the behind the scenes that went into publishing them. And again, that was all very interesting. Again, it's a story that you know how it ends. You sort of know what the basics of it are, but this behind the scenes is something that, again, I think very few of us knew. And again, it was presented very interestingly. Very well written and directed, and the acting was all very good. I liked it, as good as Streep and Tom Hanks were. I'd like to say something about all the other actors. This is a large ensemble cast. Most of these actors I don't know very. If I've seen them in something, I don't recognize them here, and so again, they're a lot of semi-unknown actors, I would say, and they just were really good.
Very important.
Again, they all did their roles very well, very believable, and
all the newspaper people and all the political people, the politicians and their staff. We were all very clearly. I'm glad you mentioned the supporting staff, because the supporting cast, because they were really important.
And again,
to the feel, make it true.
As important as it was to get the history right here, again, the history is pretty clear. One thing that they worked really hard at was getting the newspaper right, the journalism part right, and all the behind the scenes, how a paper is published, how it's edited, how it's all of that's, how the writers find their sources and all that sort of stuff. All of that is all very interesting. Again, that's something that, again, a lot of us don't really know. And again, this is made even more interesting, at least in terms of, as far as I'm concerned, in that it's 1971. So it's not sort of the digital age and everybody's using computers and everything. This is all a lot of hard work, a lot of sort of footwork.
Actually, typing on a typewriter.
Well, and typing, but again, it's
on a typewriter.
All of that sort of the journalism of the time was all I thought very interesting, and I would definitely recommend it. What about you, Grandma?
Oh yes, if you lived through it, you will appreciate very much the dramatization of what this entailed. If you only know about it as a thing that happened in history, and you think, oh yeah, I think I read about that. I heard, you need to go and see this. It is very, very well done, and a pivotal point, I think, in the history of the press.
What would your rating be?
Oh, 2 thumbs. Yes, very much 2 thumbs.
Okay.
Thumbs.
You got that out of you.
2 thumbs up. Yes.
Okay.
It's a really good movie, well acted, well written, and very satisfying to see. Very satisfying.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Oh, I did. Yes.
Okay.